Now, when I ask people about that, nobody knows about it. Maybe out of a very progressive audience of 100 people, 5 people will say, oh, yeah, I read something about that. And only 2 of those have taken the trouble to go up onto their URL line and put in collateral murder. That's all you need, collateral murder.
Now, Ray, we're running out of time. This is key info you've been covering, but we've only got this segment, what's left, and the short segment coming up with you today, and I appreciate the time. But going back to something you just mentioned briefly, now we see cybersecurity. We read about Top Secret USA, 854,000 private individuals with the highest security level. We know they're training the military for domestic operations. The White House admits they want to start censoring the Internet. Cass Sunstein does. And it looks like the system realizes it's not going to get away with all this corruption if they don't start curtailing the web. Are you concerned about that? I am. And specifically because the general, now 4-star General Keith Alexander, is the same fellow who lied to Congressman Rush Holt, who's on the House Intelligence Committee, and went out there to NSA in December of 2007 and asked Alexander, you're not eavesdropping on American citizens, are you? And he said, oh, no, that's against our first commandment. And James Risen's article came out just a week later. So Alexander, in my day we used to think that Army officers shouldn't lie. Well, he lied to his congressional overseer. That's a crime, okay? And now he is in charge of all this cyberspace stuff, security, offensive stuff, and still head of NSA. And now the Washington Post says Obama wants to search everybody's computers and ISPs without warrants now, something they're already doing. So we've gone from Bush lying 3 years ago and saying, we're not spying on you without warrants, that's illegal, and to this general doing it, to him now being the head of it and saying, yeah, we're listening to everything you're doing. And Google is in Wired magazine today saying, we're with the CIA, watching all of you in real time. So they've gone from saying, oh, we would never do that, to, yeah, we're watching everything. You know what the saving grace is here, Alex? The saving grace is that by adding more straw or more hay to the haystack, it makes it even more difficult to find the needles. Now, maybe you and I are getting special treatment, but if you deluge the system with more and more intercepted conversations, just think of the billions and billions of things that they collect every day in NSA. It's funny in terms of them running down patriots like us. It's not so funny when there are real terrorists out there and they can't find this needle in the haystack. Needle in the haystack. Or corporate criminals. And we've seen that under Bush Sr., Clinton, right through to Obama, where they've cut almost all of the government corporate fraud investigators. 11 years ago, they knew what Madoff was doing but blocked it. Now the Federal Trade Commission's been given total anonymity and immunity for covering up crimes. I mean, this is wild. Yeah, Alex said those folks all look like us, though, if you're a little darker in color and have a beard or wear something we consider funny on the top of your head, well, that's a big, big difference. But I don't know how you sort out at NSA, how you sort for funny-looking things on top of people's heads. You can't. And so the state of the art, as it was 2 decades ago, is that you can collect immense amounts of information from satellites, from intercepted whatever, okay? You can't find what you need unless you get really smart programs and really experienced analysts to guide the retrieval system. Unless, just like torture doesn't work unless you want fake confessions and to scare people, unless they know none of this really works, they can just claim their intel shows it. Yeah, in part, it's what I consider to be the biggest corporate welfare program in our country since the Strategic Defense Initiative, the anti-ballistic missile thing. Star Wars, yeah. What you got here is 2.5 times as big a intelligence budget now as was the case before 9/11. Now, that's $75 billion, Alex. And what we could do in this country with $75 billion. I hate to tell you how many schools we could build, how many teachers we could train and retain, and all the other uses.
How many bridges we could fix. We got a short 5-minute segment coming up, and then Ray's got to go. Let's get into Iran and the green lighting for that attack. Is it on? We're going to talk to him straight ahead. This is vital info. Stay with us. It looks like they're lining up an attack on Iran. We're seeing all these different government leaders say that it's on in the next 3 months. Is that saber-rattling?
I think it's more than saber-rattling. Let me give you a little background, Alex. Iran's alleged attempt to build a nuclear bomb. A red herring, folks, a red herring. The CIA and 15 other intelligence agencies made a judgment at the end of 2007 that Iran had stopped working on a nuclear weapon. Not on the whole nuclear program, but on the nuclear weapon. And that judgment holds, okay? It holds till today. A new estimate is updating that, but so far that judgment holds. Now, number two, Iran has agreed to ship half of its low-enriched uranium out of country. Half. Wow. You would think that the Israelis and the U.S., those who are afraid of a nuclear weapon in Iran, they jump up and down and say, wow, that lessens the chances by about 50%. Instead, they go into sanctions. They're going to other things that are likely to provoke Iran. Number three, a recent Pew poll shows that in 16 advanced countries, most people believe that it's necessary to attack Iran because of its alleged nuclear weapon. Okay? What's the most important thing? The most important thing is what Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu thinks of our president. The recent encounter that they had in the White House where Obama fawned all over him, didn't mention the settlements, didn't mention the American citizen that Netanyahu's forces killed just 2 weeks before. Netanyahu has the impression of our president as a wuss. I'm from the Bronx. That's a combination between a wimp and a pussycat. And if that's his judgment, which I'm convinced it is, he's about ready to use what he considers to be his ace in the hole, the Israel lobby in this country, and do what he wishes to do with respect to Iran. How would it work? He'd send his fighter bombers just up to Iraqi airspace, which we still control, for 1 more month. He would say, he'd call, there'd be the 4 a.m. telephone call to Obama. Mr. Obama, I just want to let you know, we discovered some really bad stuff about nuclear weapons in Iran, so our planes are going through your airspace now. Make sure you tell Mike Mullen not to shoot any of them down. Now, there isn't one person in Washington, Alex, that thinks that Obama would have the courage to say, no, you don't. We're going to shoot them down. We are not going to shoot any Israeli planes down. Netanyahu knows that. He knows he can attack Iran, and Iran will retaliate and will be in the mix big time, okay? The other thing that he looks at, Netanyahu does, is the election. Our president has showed himself allergic to do anything that would possibly put any Jewish or Israeli noses out of joint before the election, and so this is the time. I will predict that the chances are better than even that Israel will start a war with Iran next month. That's August 2010.
So it's definitely going into the green light phase. And what about false flags? We saw Robert Shapiro in the Financial Times say Obama has to have an Oklahoma City or 9/11 to look strong to the public for us to win the elections. I mean, that was an amazing statement.
Yeah, it's just a trifle more cynical than I'm willing to go. I see Obama as first and foremost 90% a politician, not a constitutional lawyer, not a guy that cares about our troops. And it's on that basis that I judge that he considers it just not a politically feasible thing to put the reins on Netanyahu, given the strength of the Likud lobby in this country.
Well, what do you at your gut think? You say more than 50%. I mean, I know you're hedging there, but I mean, clearly they're moving towards it. Mm-hmm. We've had the former head of the CIA, Hayden, say it's inexorable. It's going to happen. We hear, all these noises coming out. Ahmadinejad believes it's going to happen in the next 3 months. You're saying August.
Well, the thing is, Alex, that you can never be real definitive in these predictions because it still is in Obama's power to prevent this.
And indeed, we veteran intelligence professionals for sanity are drafting a memorandum to the president right now, like tonight, okay? And what we're going to say is, you better publicly tell Netanyahu, don't do it. We're not going to support you if you do. And that's enough to turn it off.
And that's going to be at consortiumnews.com?
Yes, it will be, probably in about 3 days. Consortiumnews.com. We need to get this public statement with all of your expert analysis and bombard the White House and Congress with this report? Yeah, I would suggest that. That would be great, and maybe we can turn it off.
Oh, we got about 30 seconds left. Anything else we can do to try to avert World War III?
Well, I think you call your congresspeople, you call your senators, tell them that, we're past the point where we're going to be diddled by a country that pretends to be our ally and gets us in a whole peck of trouble in the Middle East.
All right, consortiumnews.com is where you can read all of the great reports by Ray McGovern. Our website's Infowars.com. Ray, talk to you again soon.